tissue video. Today, we are going to learn about supportive connective tissue, which means we're going to look at cartilage and then we're going to look at bone. Now, the cartilage we're going to look at is this cartilage called hyaline cartilage. Okay? There are actually three types of cartilage in our body. There is hyaline cartilage, which is what we're looking at in this picture. It's a firm, flexible, supporting connective tissue. It is found in your trachea, your larynx, your respiratory tract. Connects your ribs to your sternum, so it's in your thoracic cage. And it's at all your movable joints. There are two other types of cartilage. There is fibrocartilage, which is in your intervertebral discs, between your vertebrae. And then there is also elastic cartilage, which is in your ear and your epiglottis. So we're not going to look at fibrocartilage today. We're not going to look at elastic cartilage today. Instead, we are looking at the most common type of cartilage. The most common type of cartilage is hyaline cartilage. Now, this is hyaline cartilage here. It is connective tissue. So notice there is a lot of extracellular matrix, which is usually like a light to dark purple in color. This is all extracellular matrix. It has water in it, which makes it squishy. It also has a lot of collagen in it, going in many different directions, which makes it really strong. Now I see cells here. The blue arrow is on a cell. There are lots of these cells. They are called chondrocytes. They are called chondrocytes. They are mature cartilage cells, and to be honest, they don't do too much. They maintain the extracellular matrix, but that's about it. Chondrocytes, once upon a time, were cells known as chondroblasts. Chondroblasts are precursor cells that turn into chondrocytes. The chondroblasts originally make the matrix, and as the chondroblasts make the matrix, they end up being trapped in these little spaces, these little cavities, where you see the white space here. And these little spaces, these little cavities, each is called a lacuna. So the plural is lacunae. Each is called a lacuna. And once a chondroblast is in a lacuna, it turns into the mature version, the chondrocyte. So that is our hyaline cartilage. Let's take another look at another picture of some. There's some more hyaline cartilage. Can you find matrix? Can you find chondrocytes? Can you find lacunae? So find those three things and then keep on going. Pause if you need to. And now what we're going to do is look at compact bone tissue. So compact bone appears solid to the naked eye. That is in contrast to spongy bone, which has marrow-filled spaces that you can see with the naked eye. Okay? This is a femur over here. This is a femur. It's been sliced right there. The shaft of the femur, of which we see about half, the shaft of any long bone, to be honest, is called the diaphysis. So we are transversely cutting the shaft, the diaphysis of the femur. Then we are going to cut out a little piece of pie, a wedge of that. And that is what we have here. This is a wedge of compact bone from the diaphysis of the femur. A diaphysis is the shaft of a long bone. The femur is a long bone because it is much longer than it is wide. So what we want to do is look at this compact bone here and figure out some things about it. First and foremost, I want you to notice these many cylindrical things. One is circled in red. I'm circling a bunch more in yellow. These cylindrical structures, notice how they are made of many layers, like rings around rings around rings. Each of these cylinders in our compact bone is something called an osteon. These are the supportive structures that are going to make up the compact bone in the shaft of the long bone. If we had the whole femur, okay, the entire diaphysis, the entire shaft is made of these cylinders. They would go along in this direction in the shaft. So each of these guys, these cylinders, is an osteon. The osteon is made up of rings of bone matrix. So here are some rings of bone matrix. These ones have been kind of like exploded out at us as well. Rings of bone matrix here. And they're just coming out at us. And like in this osteon, we see all these rings of bone matrix. These are called concentric lamella. Each is a concentric lamella. Plural is concentric lamellae. Now these rings of matrix make osteons very strong. Multiple osteons make the compact bone here very strong. The passageway in the middle of each osteon, so each of these passageways that we see here, it's in the middle of an osteon, so it is called a central canal. We typically find an artery, a vein, and a nerve in there. Now, the lamellae are made of bone matrix. Bone matrix has a lot of collagen, which resists tension, as well as calcium phosphate. This is the mineral that makes bone hard, and it is going to resist compression. Now, bone is actually a very active tissue. That is why we have these many central canals to provide avenues for blood vessels, as well as nerves to go through. Now, I want you to notice something. We've got all these cylindrical osteons. If I were to draw 3 cylinders over here, 3 circles, 2, and I want to try and pack them together, notice that I gotta leave some space in between them, right? And I actually don't want empty space in my compact bone, so I'm going to fill this space in here with more bone matrix. And I actually see that in several places. Do you see this little area right here? It's between 4 osteons. This little area has its own little layers of matrix. Check those out. And these little layers of matrix, because they're in between osteons, they're called interstitial lamellae, like layers in between. So we have concentric lamellae, which are around my central canal. Concentric means same center. Then interstitial lamellae, which are in between my osteons. That's what interstitial basically means. So all these lamellae, all this bone matrix is making this compact bone really strong and stable. But there's actually more lamellae. If I look on the inside and on the outside, so like out here, I've got these lamellae. I've got many layers of bone matrix. And these guys, they are actually going to go all the way around the entire circle of the bone. Remember, we just got a wedge of pi here, bone pi, and these lamellae would go all the way around the entire thing. Because they go all the way around the entire circle, they are called circumferential lamellae. Remember, the distance around a circle is the circumference. And I find big ones on the outside of the diaphysis, as well as small ones on the inside of the diaphysis. These guys would also go around, but around a much smaller circle on the interior. All right, this is all fantastic. This is great. Few more things we gotta focus on. Check out all of these little spaces. We saw these same little spaces in hyaline cartilage. These little spaces are known as lacunae. Now, in hyaline cartilage, lacunae were occupied by chondrocytes. This is bone, though. So we've got mature bone cells called osteocytes. They're going to maintain this bone matrix. They're also always measuring the stress that bone is feeling. Now, just like a chondrocyte was once a chondroblast, osteocytes are derived from cells called osteoblasts. And osteoblasts are the cells that make bone matrix. Okay, notice there are a few osteocytes indicated in this model. So many of the lacunae are empty, but I do have some osteocytes over here. And osteocytes, once upon a time, were osteoblasts. All right, couple more things on this compact bone model. There is a membrane on the inside of the compact bone of the diaphysis. This membrane on the inside is called the endosteum. Think about endo meaning within and osteum meaning bone. On the outside, so there's a grayish blue guy here. You see him right here as well. Dun, dun, dun. This grayish blue guy is called the periosteum. Periosteum literally meaning around the bone. Now, the periosteum has to be strong because tendons and ligaments attach to it. And there are actually bundles of collagen. Like this is a collagen bundle right here. Collagen bundle right here. These collagen bundles are going to anchor the periosteum to the neighboring circumferential lamellae. And these bundles of collagen are called perforating fibers. Perforating fibers. They anchor the periosteum to the circumferential lamellae. Okay, we're getting to the end of this model, I swear. Only a few more things to do. I've rotated the model to show you the periosteum on the exterior of the bone. And look at that up there. Whoever made this made a terrible mistake. It's missing a P. There we go. Periosteum. On the exterior, endosteum on the interior. I can see some circumferential lamellae on the interior here. I can see some circumferential lamellae on the exterior as well. I also see my perforating fibers, which are bundles of collagen anchoring the periosteum to these circumferential lamellae. So we got a little internal and external view right there. Awesome. And now we've rotated the model a little bit so we can see it in more of a longitudinal section. So what I first want you to check out to like kind of orient yourself here, notice the osteon up here, okay? There's one of those cylinders. He's got a central canal, and then we've got layers of matrix called concentric lamellae. All right, got another osteon over here. I see all these concentric lamellae right here. All right, see how they're the same concentric lamellae that I've got up here. This is my central canal right here. It would have blood vessels. Notice that my central canal right here is connected to another central canal over here by some passageways running transversely. This is called a perforating canal. Perforating canals also run to the exterior to provide an avenue for blood vessels to get in. So perforating canals are next to perforating fibers here. All right, very, very good. Like I said, we're almost done with this model. It's got a little bit more to do. In fact, I was wrong. We are done with this model. Yes. So we're moving on to another one. This, folks, is a model of a single osteon. So here is a single osteon right here. Dun, da, da, there it is. It has a central canal with, I see blood vessels. I got an artery. I got a vein. I got some nerves. I got my concentric lamellae around it. I'm seeing all those. I've even got some interstitial lamellae on my upper right up here. Look at that. So all good stuff. I can also see some empty lacunae. I'm putting some yellow dots in some empty lacunae. Now we know empty lacunae are occupied by osteocytes. And this blue guy with the red legs is an osteocyte, which was once an osteoblast. Now what I want you to notice is that if I look at these, look at this lacuna right here. I'm going to put a dot in it. Look at that lacuna. Look how that lacuna has these little passageways extending from it, actually connecting to passageways from other lacunae. And these little passageways, they are known as canaliculi. These passageways are called canaliculi, like little canals. The osteocytes are going to have their arms and legs, quote unquote, in the canaliculi. This is going to let osteocytes, like this osteocyte can pick up nutrients and gases, oxygen and nutrients and signals from the blood. It can deposit wastes, and then it can exchange things with these other osteocytes with their arms and legs because they're extending through the canaliculi. The osteocytes are actually linked via gap junctions, which we met in lecture. So really cool here. This is how we feed the living cells. So realize bone is really dense and hard. Like glucose is not going to diffuse from the blood through the bone matrix. But canaliculi, little passages that have the arms and legs of the osteocyte, allow for exchange between these cells. All right, fantastic and wonderful. That is really good. If we rotate the model, again, I see my osteocyte. He's red. He's got a blue nucleus. I see his many little arms and legs. Here are some empty lacunae and some empty canaliculi. So these canaliculi are occupied by the little arms and legs of the osteocytes. These guys are empty. If we rotate it around, just another view, you can still see the central canal with its stuff, blood vessels and nerves. I got my concentric lamellae. I also see some interstitial lamellae. And I see some lovely lacunae and some nice canaliculi. Awesome. Now here is the real thing. Check this out. Do you see this osteon right here? Look at this beautiful osteon. Here's its central canal. Here's another central canal. Plenty more. If you kind of zoom in with your eyeballs, you can see there are lots of little layers. Those are concentric lamellae. I can also see little openings. These little openings, I'm putting pink dots in them. Those are lacunae. They're empty here in this picture, but in real life they would be occupied by osteocytes. Now I even see some interstitial lamellae in between my osteons. Awesome. If I zoom in, here's the central canal. Here's a lacuna. Look at those canaliculi. Look at all those canaliculi that we see. Here's a lacuna, and then all these canaliculi that I'm seeing. So many, right? And I can see all the little layers of matrix. Those are concentric lamellae. Amazing. Here, I got a nicely sliced piece of bone. I can see an osteon over here, an osteon over here. This is a central canal, and now in between them, I see a perforating canal running in between them, allowing blood vessels, that's just perforating, allowing blood vessels to travel, to branch between central canals. And now what we want to do is zoom in on some osteocytes. Like you saw them on the model, but look at this thing here. Look how many canaliculi it has coming out of it. This is crazy, right? I mean, look how many little arms and legs it's got coming out of it. They would be in canaliculi. The arms and legs, by the way, are called filopodia, but that's not on your test. But, so, osteocytes have just a great amount of communication with each other because they're always measuring bone stress. So your body can know what to do to maintain bone homeostasis. I almost said bomeostasis. That's a cool new word. Anyway, look at these osteocytes. Appreciate the multitude of arms and legs, which allows for great exchange of nutrients, gases, and also, most importantly, information between them as they monitor bone stress. That is really cool. And that, folks, is our last slide. I was probably going pretty fast. It's when you're doing the video and no one's asking you questions, it's easy just to kind of like go. But of course, as always, pause, rewatch, rewind, rewatch. Seek me out if you have any questions. Email me, talk to me, whatever you want to do. Okay? All right. See you later.